Swing-a-ling, swing-a-ling. Give trample to one of you. And I believe you're very, very dead. Yep. We go first. Good, good hand. I'd like another 2-drop, but I suppose we could Elves, Badgermole Cub, Fungus. That still uses 3 mana, as opposed to just 3 mana off the Ascension. And it helps us sell up better for future turns. Llanowar, living on the run. Badgermole up against Siller's Knight by the looks of things. Green-white. Well, next turn we can basically pay out our entire hand. Ooh, maybe we destroy... Wow, we know they have a Day of Judgment. And they have their own Badgermole Cub. Well, that's Ascension, because that has more value later on. We don't have to tap that, do we? No. I shouldn't have attacked with everything, because then we ran out of lands. Oops, that was silly. They've got a bit of a mishmash of things too for medieval speakers. Badgermole Cub, Day of Judgment. Badgermole, Badgermole. Get another forest. Get a forest. Whack that on the cub. Oh no, let's attack him with you two. Maybe we draw a card. Yeah, let's draw a card. I'm not that fussed about Dredger's Insight. Oh, the Bloom-Kins, a good draw. Hopefully they don't have a board wipe. They have a board wipe. Well, we can get down the Bloom-Kin and crew one of our Worldy Wagons. Put a counter on the Worldy Wagon. No, decent curve. Llanowar Elves into Earthbender Ascension, otherwise Bloom-Kin if the Elves gets removed. And next turn we can already get down a Greenshell. Would have liked another land. They have a Badgermole Cub, and they have their own Earthbinding Ascension. Should have played the land before you played out the Ascension, because then you could have Earthbinded it onto the land and got the failed passage back. Wow, okay. If they have a crater hoof, we're kind of screwed. They are earthbinding a lot. Lockmare. I can draw a card. Oh no, they stun our creature down. Problem is, we have no ways to trigger our great shells. Let's get down the chunky Bloom-Kin. And get down another chunky Bloom-Kin. Let's put you face... Oh no, we can't pay 3. They chomp with the Lockmare, they're down to 10. Well, they consult. Thing is, we know we can get lands with our Worldwagons. They didn't kick the consult. They do have 9 mana, but they do have to tap everything if they wanted to cast a Greater Hoof. Well, that's a good card. Is it going to be enough, though? Maybe. We know we can give our 7/7 trample. And that'll be 9 9s. And they only have 3 blockers. If we draw land, then our green shells will power up. Or if we draw another green shell, land? In fact, we only found 1 land off those. Swingerling, swingerling. Give trample to one of you. And I believe you're very, very dead. Yep. We go first. Decent hand. Although we actually need more action. It's up against goblins, presumably. Once we find some bigger pieces, we're in business. Yep. Nope. I mean, we could get down the Regent by itself. Which we might just do. Oh, actually, no. Let's Earthbend onto you. Let's get another land. What are they doing? Yeah, we'll take that. An Eclipsed Boggart. We find another Eclipsed Boggart. That's good. We can still get you down, which triggers the Great Shell and gains them some life for fun. And there's a second Great Shell. Ooh, that's going to be a problem. And we don't have any removal. I'll swing in with you. No Sapling Nursery. Is a bit of a problem. If we find the nursery, at least we can play that and Worldwagon at the same time. Oh, they found another Eclipsed Boggart. That can take out elves or a forest. What do we find? That was a good draw. Oh, yeah. So we play that. We play a Worldwagon. We play an Ascension. They both get lands. They'll create 2/3/4s. Hopefully, from those two, looking at 4 more cards, we would find. Well, no, that'll give us a 2 lands anyway, just to trigger the Great Shell. So Regents would get +4/+4. Everything get +4/+4. So they would hit him for 8 each. And we go first. Good hand. Turn to Worldwagon, hopefully. If not, we are a bit screwed, but that's all right. Find a forest, obviously. So we can play out the nursery next turn. Which I think depends on what they hold up. So we are against fairies. Yeah, I think they've got a bounce spell. Soon to see what they do choose to bounce. Unless they have, there is the 1 mana flash Phantom Sailor, maybe? They could have a Requiting Hex. Or is it a bounce spell? Next turn, we can get down the Greenshell, hopefully. And then crew the Worldwagon. I think they have the Fairy counterspell. Ooh. Land. That's not land. Do you have it now? You are looking at your own creatures. Yeah. I would quite like just the land. Or for our opponent to completely tap out. Or are you paying for the flittering nuisance? I don't mind that. That costs, yeah, that is all your mana. Perfect. We get a few. And we can still do this. Land. Wow. No lands. Well, only 2 lands from 8 creatures. You need a sweeper, which for 4 mana, I don't think is. Well, you could have Day of the Black Sun, which is 2 and X, which would kill all our creatures apart from our Great Shell. Kill all theirs as well, though. Yep, there's a Green Shell. I appreciate the chutzpah, but you're about to have a lot of 8/3/4s on the backswing. We go first. No mana acceleration until the Ascension and the Worldwagon, but we do have a green shell. Where are you, turn 1? I think we get down the Worldwagon first. Are they vivid? Yeah, I can't. No, let's Worldwagon. They ain't blocking. Ooh, they shocked that in. They have a lot of mana. Although Bloom-Kin only taps for green at the moment. Well, that sucks. Let's get down a Badgermole Cub. Let's get down a Earthbender Ascension. Fortunately, I'm going to hold this for the Great Shell. Fortunately, we can't attack with our Worldwagon. And now a Bloom Tender taps for 3. Yeah, we'll take that. Well, they shock something in, which is always a worry. Do you have a counterspell? If you do, I think they did. Let's put you on there. Let's crew. And then let's glimpse the core. Because we can give you trample. Well, that was annoying. Our Great Shell does have reach, though. They only have 1 card left in hand. Oh, but they can transform. Well, we're down to 3. Wow, okay. Well, we go first with plenty of Badgermole Cubs. They won't survive, I don't think. They have a burst, lightning, or a shock. I imagine. Well, there is a nursery. Or maybe they don't, because there was no stick when I played the cub. Well, we can get down the Badgermole Cub. And get down a Worldwagon. Next turn, assuming everything survives, which you don't know, we can get down the nursery and get down at least one land and attack in with the Worldwagon. Oh, goblins. Let's crew you. I would actually quite like some non-lands. The Great Shell would be nice. Yeah, we're down to 18. We're down to 17. We're down to 16. The bomber's not the one that gives them haste. Yep, there's some big boys. They do get a goblin from their sear slicer. And we'll get a forest. We'll crew you with you two. And their opponent scoots. We're going to be attacking in with 9, 9, 18, 21, 24. Well, everything basically. Right. We go first with not the fastest hand I'd want, but not terrible. Ooh, Badgermole Cub. And hopefully next turn we can Worldwagon. Oh look, lessons. Keen-Eyed Curator could be useful then to stop them having 3 lessons in their graveyard. What else do they have? There's a Gran. There's a removal. Well, let's Keen-Eyed Curator. And then let's crew you. Down to 14. We can Sapling Nursery next turn, assuming that Badgermole Cub survives. Which I don't think it will. Ooh, manual tapping. Am I drawing a card? No, creating a treasure. I mean, that's very annoying, but... Well, I say that is very annoying. Let's get down a Bloom-Kin. And we will... think we will exile a few things from their graveyard. And a combustion technique. So they only have one lesson in the graveyard now. Yeah, no, maybe. You are down to 6. I know we've drawn a land since our opening hand. Well, you don't get them back. Well, let's get down the nursery. Swing in. Yep, you have to block that. I'm not going to get down the Llanowar Elves just because I don't think there's much point if they've got Ira's Demonstration. Well, they managed to draw 3. Coruscation Mage. Let's get down the Fecund Greenshell. Get a little bit of a combo going. We'll swing in with everything, which will trigger us getting another forest, gives us 10 lands. And I believe that is lethal. Stomp, 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 stomp. Hello Magic fans, I'm Beef and welcome back to another standard gameplay video. And today we have been looking at a mono green land stompy deck based around a new card from Lorwyn Eclipsed, Sapling Nursery. So Sapling Nursery is an 8-mana enchantment and has landfall. Whenever a land you control enters, create a 3/4 green tree folk creature token with reach. Then we can pay 1 and a green to exile the enchantment. Tree folk and forests we control can indestructible end of turn. Now that is expensive for an enchantment. However, it has infinity for forests, meaning for every forest we have in play, the cost is reduced by 1 generic. So generally by turn 3 or 4, when we have 4 forests in play, this will cost 4, and then we just get loads of tree folk token. So this mono green deck is based on ramping, so we can get the nursery out early by having more lands, which reduces the cost, and obviously having more mana, and then making value from that landfall trigger. So a lot of the cards we have seen before: Llanowar Elves, obviously great, just ramp. Insidious Fungus, we can destroy a target artifact or enchantment, but we can also draw a card and put a land from our hand onto the battlefield tapped. Badgermole Cub, because we're playing a green deck. Flourishing Bloom-Kin, generally when I play mono green, I'll play the Bloom-Kin because it can just get huge very, very quickly, because it gets +1/+1 for each forest we control, but we can also disguise it. So we can pay 3, it'd be a 2/2 creature with War 2. Then we can turn it face up for 5, and when we do, we search our library, 2 forest cards and reveal them, put 1 onto the battlefield tapped, the other into a hand. So Cold Bay basically Glimpse the Core. We can search our library for basic forest. You can easily play shared roots here, but since we're mono green, it doesn't really make a difference. A couple of Keen-Eyed Curators just for an extra 2-drop. It doesn't help us with a land, but it does help against graveyard decks, and it can become very big. Earthbender Ascension lets us get a land, and we're going to have a lot of land drops, which means we're going to get up to 4 counters very quickly, so we can put +1/+1 counters on our creatures and give them trample turn to turn. You could easily take out the 2 Curators and put in 2 more Ascensions. For Lumbering Worldwagons, when it enters or attacks, we search the library for basic land card, put on the battlefield tapped, and then shuffle. We can crew 4, and it has power equal to the number of lands we control. Bloomvine Regent, mainly for the claim territory sorcery, because again, it's basically cultivate 2 basic land cards, reveal them, 1 into battlefield tapped, 1 into a hand, so pretty much exactly the same as turn the Bloom-Kin face up. But we can play the dragon if we have a lot of mana, 4/5 flyer, and it gains us 3 life. But the main one is Fecund Greenshell. So it's a 5 mana 4/6 back from Bloomburrow. It has reach, and as long as we control 10 or more lands, creatures we control get +2/+2. It says whenever this creature or another creature with toughness greater than its power enters, we look at the top card of our library. If it's a land card, we put it on the battlefield tapped, otherwise put it into our hand. Now the tree folk that we get from the nursery are 3/4s, so they will trigger the Greenshell. So if we get the Greenshell down and then say hit a land from its enter trigger, or we haven't played a land drop and we play the land, we will create a 3/4 that will trigger the Greenshell again. And obviously, basically, we put a land on the battlefield tap and draw a card. And obviously, the more lands we get onto the battlefield, the more triggers we get, the more lands we put onto the battlefield. And getting up to 10 lands is not particularly difficult to buff our entire team, especially if we have 1 or more Greenshells. And obviously, we put them into our hand if it's not a land. So it's basically card draw. So really, really powerful interaction. And then even if we don't draw either of these, smashing in with a big Bloom-Kin or, a big Lumbering Worldwagon, or maybe we can exile enough things with Keen-Eyed Curator to have a 7/7 trample. We're putting counters on things with the Ascension. This is not a one-trick pony. This is you're not guaranteed to win, but this is very, very powerful when you get the right stuff, and also pretty good when you don't get the right stuff as well. So, and we do have a couple of copies of Ba Sing Se, just Earthbend to get additional creatures onto the board. And with all the Earthbending, it's really good against sweepers, because obviously we get the lands back as well, and target removal is less efficient when we have such a wide board. So really, really fun deck, really powerful. I've always been a big fan of green, and it has seemed over the last year or so, mono green has been getting a lot of powerful cards, especially things like Badgermole Cub, whereas for quite a few years before that, mono green sucked. So really, really good to see it back powerful, and I really, really like this deck. Hope you enjoy it. If you do, please remember to like and subscribe. I'll give a shout out to my patrons, Arcadians, Mihail, Thomas, and Adrian. Thank you very much for your support. Thank you everyone else for your support, and I'll see you all in the next video.